The cloaked figure at the back of the inn stood up. As they did so, their hoods slipped down, revealing their head and face. A susurration rippled through the crowd. One man, standing near the bar, dropped his jaw, followed by his flagon of mead. A tall, broad draconian stepped into the light. He was old, his scales battle-scarred. He rested one clawed hand on the pommel of a mace that hung from a loop on his belt, while the other carried his shield by a strap. His flat, expressionless look was more terrifying than any threatening glower. The three human bandits took a step back. One of the dwarves just sneered. Then, sensing his human compatriot's reluctance, turned to look at them.
"What's this?"
the lead dwarf growled. Looking at the Dragon Knight, another bandit added quickly, "We didn't know there was one of you here." The draconian didn't move, didn't give any indication he heard the man, just stared unblinking at the lead dwarf. "Think of the bounty," the dwarf hissed to the humans, but he kept his eye on the draconian. "We'll all be rich." The two dwarves surveyed the tavern. The people were now all facing them. A few had stood up. They weren't afraid anymore. "We'll be back," the lead dwarf said, and a group of them backed out of the inn, sheathing their short swords before they turned and left. As one, the people in the tavern turned to look with undisguised awe at the Dragon Knight. He noticed this, ducked his head to avoid their gaze. "Show's over," he growled. Then he turned to go back to his seat in the rear. A short, dowdy, middle-aged man stood up, and two equally dowdy women at the same table stood up with him. "Excuse me, Sir Knight," the man said as the Dragon Knight walked past their table. The knight moved on, ignoring them. The man reached out and grabbed the massive draconian's arm. The knight wheeled on the peasant, looming over him. The man touched his forelock. The two women with him curtsied. "Begging your pardon, sir, but we've been looking for you." The Dragon Knight sneered and bared a set of sharp teeth.
"Look for someone else,"
he growled as he pulled his arm away. The man scurried around to stand in front of the draconian, blocking his way. He took off his worn cap and held it over his breast. "I'm sorry, sir, but there ain't no one else. There's this new tax, you see, from the new Baron, and a priest says he's of St. Ajax." The knight bared his impressive teeth, ready to scare Jago and the other two away, when someone else spoke. "You might want to hear him out, Vant," said a voice from the table the three peasants had been sitting at. The Dragon Knight turned sharply to look at the man who'd spoken. His back was to the draconian, but the voice gave him away.
"John?"
The man turned to look up. "Hi, Vant," he said, smiling. He rose from the table. He was middle-aged, fit. Black hair hung down to his shoulders. He was armed with many weapons. "Folks," he said, "this is Vanticalisax, Knight of King Omund in the Thunder Phalanx. He may be the last of the Storm Knights." The man held out his hand. The Dragon Knight looked at it for a moment before reaching out slowly to grasp it.
"What are you doing out here?"
he asked. "These people need help. I said I'd find it. Heard a rumor someone matching your description was holed up here having a drinking contest with Mr. John Barleycorn." The draconian sniffed, released John's hand.
"Sure," he said. "But why me?"
"Thought maybe you'd like to get back in the game."
"The game?"
"Yeah," Sir John smiled. "The hero game." The inn had mostly gone back to its business, but the three peasants watched intently. Eventually, the Dragon Knight spoke again, his voice low.
I owe you a lot, John. But not everything.
I'm not asking everything.
No, that's not how it starts. But I have this feeling that's how it'll end.
What does your oath say? Even should the sun stop in the sky, even should the night...
John,
the Dragon Knight said, his voice suddenly sad, exasperated.
you don't want to quote my oath to me. You really don't. I like serving with you. I have fond memories of that time. Of you. Don't spoil it.
He looked at his friend, the three peasants, then shook his head and turned to leave the inn. Vant, Sir John said, following. Sir Vantacalisax, by your oath! The Dragon Knight stopped and spun around. Everyone in the inn was watching the show again. Act 2. The people need leadership, John said. Vantacalisax's reptile eyes flashed in anger.
They had it! 30 years, and what did it amount to? I watched Ajax. I watched him.
The Dragon Knight's eyes flinched. His clawed hands tightened on his mace and shield.
I watched the oath fail.
Vant, the dragon phalanx didn't fail. You were betrayed. It was Mandrake. One of your own. Don't you get it? You're just as fallible as the rest of us. You were never incorruptible. It's just what we wanted to believe. You're just people. Like the rest of us. The Dragon Knight looked at the people around him. At the three peasants desperate for someone, anyone to help them. Then he looked back to his friend.
Exactly,
Vantacalisax said. Then he turned and left the inn.